Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 308. My name is Brando, and Michael Ryan, thank you for not thinking I'm psycho for sending you emails for a while because I wanted to talk to you. And I got to give a shout out before we get to you and Scooby-Doo to Kevin and, Kevin Fleming, who wrote the Looney Tunes episode. And I think he's the one that connected us, so it was pretty kind of cool. So Michael, who is the story editor, the head writer of Scooby-Doo, it's not Where Are You, right? That's the
Who
one.
are you? Yeah. Where Are You is the original, right? That was the 1969 version.
I know. I'm younger than you, but sometimes I have to pause and say the correct one. So thanks, you got back to me, and I'm glad you've been able to breathe, because you obviously have been juggling so many things. So before I even get to Scooby and Axl, and I want to get to know you a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
Where are you located, if I can ask?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, my hero. In Los Angeles, in Marina Del Rey.
Yeah. Okay. Is that what is that? One of Muhammad Ali's quotes behind him?
Yeah, it's one of his like "impossible is nothing" quotes. It's
okay.
It's so wicked. Yeah, it's like nothing is impossible. Basically, like it's a challenge. Someone tells you something's impossible, that's like a challenge. That's you're gonna make it possible. So
yeah. Well, you did the impossible by getting Axl Rose on Scooby-Doo.
A little bit, yeah.
And before I forget, it's not just Kevin Fleming, but Rob Janis from Looney Tunes. And it's so cool because it was, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I had them on and they gave the real behind the scenes of Axl doing this and to get your perspective. But I did the same thing with them. I got to know their kind of career path. So are you from LA? Is this something you've always wanted to do, write cartoons? Is this where your career started?
I grew up in Kentucky, in Louisville.
Okay.
And went to school in Indiana University in Bloomington, IU. And I did want to write. I always wanted to write. And I had a professor who told me, if you want to write, go to one of the coasts. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go. So I ended up in Los Angeles. And honest to God, when I was a kid, I loved animation. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to watch. Favorite things to watch. And I didn't actually realize that they wrote for animation until I ended up in Los Angeles and discovered this whole sort of world. And it was at Hanna-Barbera Cartoon Network, right about when Cartoon Network was starting. And I was like, oh, they write for animation? Like, how do I do that? Where can I start? Because I've been writing for a long time. I think I can do it. So I started writing for free, as you usually do, and then starting getting work. And so I started at Cartoon Network, and I ended up being a writer on Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, Cow and Chicken. I was a story editor on that, head writer, and Johnny Bravo as well. And so kind of my whole career started there, and I've been writing ever since on just all kinds of different shows and just loving every minute of it.
You just named all shows I grew up with and watched with my brothers. I'm the oldest of four. Dexter's Laboratory and Cow and Chicken. The shit you got away with, man. That was so great. Oh, that was in the I watched the Powerpuff Girls.
Absolutely.
I think I have it on my book bag. I'd have to take it down. I don't want to ruin, if you're watching this on Zoom, I have the background of what is it? The Dark Diner at Route 66. I guess during Axl Rose, but literally in my book bag next to me, you just have to believe me, I have a Mojo Jojo plush.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah, that's why it's awesome. And one of the reasons why I got into GNR, honestly, is not just the music, but the kind of people they are. And I'm a cartoon guy. And when you see Slash talk about it, I think he's, SpongeBob, he praises it. And, Axl doing this kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, these are my kind of people. So that's great. So you're my kind of people.
Amen. I'll take it.
Any chance before I lose it because nostalgia is big. Did any of, because I know Powerpuff Girls has a revival, the live action. I mean, that's totally different.
Yeah.
But like what they do with Rocko's Modern Life or like updated movies. Do you see like an updated movie of Dexter's Lab coming or Cow and Chicken? Anything?
Oh, I would love to see a cow and chicken come back. Only because I think in a weird way it could come back, even like it could belong more. I mean, it was just a little bit crazy, and I loved it being crazy. It was a big part of my life, and uh, I think that I suspect they'll want to try and bring back everything. I think even
What about Johnny Bravo? Because he could he last in today's society? Honestly,
I
he,
don't think so. No, he would not fit
he
in.
might get canceled like Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, he is. He's in the Pepe Le Pew aisle, I think.
Which is again to tie it into GNR. I just think it's funny because Axl has worn a lot of controversial T-shirts, Charles Manson and "Kill Your Idols." Perhaps the most controversial shirt ever was Slash's Pepe Le Pew shirt.
Yeah. That's genius. Yeah, that is.
No, never know.
That's rock and roll, though, right?
Absolutely. So, I guess you must have met all kind of crazy people throughout doing this, because it's not just Scooby. There's a lot of guest stars or people who want to get involved. Is that something that ever took you by surprise? Like, especially going from Kentucky to LA, that's got to be a culture shock. It was me.
It was.
When I first started in radio, I went from, Long Island, New York City to Cape Cod. That was how I started. It's different for radio. You got to start from the bottom
Right.
somewhere.
Of course.
And that was a culture shock. I was like, things close at 11 p.m. That's weird. So I got to imagine it's going to be a culture shock, not just with LA, but to work on these shows and figure out this new love of yours, and to meet, who are some of the people you met early on? I guess I could ask. Is that
I think there's a couple of favorites that I met that I mean, a little bit not big stars, but like Jonathan Winters we've worked with him, and he was so funny and so brilliant and so sweet. And there's been a couple that I've worked with, and then we did a show on Johnny Bravo. We did a Farrah Fawcett Majors where she showed up. That was one of my favorite moments. And then but the cast of Scooby-Doo, believe it or not, like Frank Welker, who does Scooby and Fred, he was the original Fred in 1969, and he's just so brilliant, and he knows everyone, he's met everyone. So just listening to him tell stories has been sort of a brilliant there've been like moments where just a lot of different people you meet over the years that they're just like they're in the tiers of entertainment industry that you may not understand, because there's so many levels to it. And I didn't understand it until I got into it. And then it's just this sort of history. You just sort of step into a history, especially when you're dealing with some of the older actors that everyone kind of knew everybody, and they'll tell you all these stories, and you go to the smokehouse and you have drinks, and it's just like, it was fun. It was a great way to sort of make a living and grow up at the same time.
That fascinates me, really. I mean, that's something that I think would be just such a fun job, and a never-ending job too, because just think about how long cartoons have been around and just the different varieties. So when you got into it and you're starting writing for these, I don't know at the time if they were already hits, but now they're legendary shows. But did you have a goal in mind, I guess? Did you want to create your own stuff? Did you want to end up on a Scooby-Doo to work on something legendary? Where did you want your career to go now that you found animation?
I think I just love the work. I love telling stories, and I love sort of getting involved with characters and really pushing the characters. And I think, I always loved Scooby even as a kid. So finally getting to sort of be a big part of Scooby. And then I did, before I did Guess Who, one of the big Scoobies I did was Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, which was kind of a bigger sort of overarching Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of version of Scooby-Doo. And it was really fun and really, really fun to work on. I just think, and it did a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was really fun for me too.
Oh, did you see? I can hold this up to the camera. My water bottle. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I love that.
Did you see my little Leonardo hanging from my headphones?
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, yeah. Leo, he's actually my favorite character.
I am the oldest of 4 boys. We are the Turtles, so I'm Leonardo. So
I love it. Oh, that's perfect.
I mean, it sounds super nerdy, but it's just been like that since we were a kid. Our personalities match. It's just it's It's radical.
I think that's brilliant. You guys should, now that should be a movie. Guys should consider, you should find some way to turn that into a movie where you guys are the turtles, but it's just in your everyday life in Long Island.
Oh God, that'd be fun. A combination of just Ninja Turtles and Seinfeld and some.
Yeah, exactly. And Goonies. You have to. So there's some sort of Long Island like mix up. Like there's a pirate treasure. You need a pirate treasure.
You're right. All right. Let's collaborate. Let's talk after this. Maybe we can develop a screenplay.
Let's do it.
So then how long have you, when you got into first started working for Scooby, so what was the version of Scooby you said that you were working on?
It was that was 2012, I guess, Mystery Incorporated. That was at Warner Brothers. And then I went to DreamWorks for like 5 years, and then I came back to Warner Brothers for Scooby-Doo Guess Who, where we were getting all the guest stars, and we were trying to do that callback to the 1970s, 1972, I think it was. They were making all those movies like with, Scooby-Doo meets Mama Cass, and just like Sonny and Cher, and we actually
Don
got Cher. Don Knotts, exactly. Yeah, we were doing, so we wanted to do sort of a echo, callback to that, and
that's great. So who was some of the people early on? Because I don't know if you got the Harlem Globetrotters again, because they're still around.
We talked about it. We actually talked about it. I think it was we got Chris Paul instead as a basketball sort of player. Cool. So we got him to be, and he was fun. He was a lot of fun to work with. And we got a lot of fun people to work. I mean, we got Morgan Freeman, and actually writing a script for Morgan Freeman was terrifying for me because I wrote the script, but it was like you're writing for the voice of God, He's
That's
the
voice
of God.
Every word you put down, everything. I'm sure you were, as you were writing it. What's your process on a laptop, on a pad? You're hearing it in his voice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do a lot of stuff on legal pad and then write it on the computer. But then you're saying you're doing exactly what I just went through, because it was like I would sit there and stare at this screen almost sometimes going, Morgan Freeman's gonna say this is start crying. but yeah, it was fun. We had all sorts of Ricky Gervais did a show with us, did an episode with us, and he was a blast, and writing a script for him was fun and hard because he's so talented, and so to try and even mimic his voice was hugely challenging. But then he actually was very complimentary about the script, and we had a lot of fun people. Sia, the singer, she did an episode with us too.
Without the wig? Did she come
without
in?
the wig? Yeah, no wig. Yeah, she came in all just herself.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know how far, because again, we're leading towards Axl, who I forget your coworker who was the showrunner. His name escapes me. Forgive me.
Chris Bailey. Oh, Chris. Yeah.
The one that he was interviewed in Rolling Stone, saying in and out like Batman. So I kind of just want to get a sense of the people who preceded Axl and how he came in, because what's been great about some of the people you mentioned, I guess all, including Sia, I don't know her speaking voice, but when you get somebody who's just a larger than life character become animation, but then they're great. Like you can just listen to Morgan Freeman. So I mean, it gives you so many different ways to attack it, like how to be creative with it, I guess, how to be creative with their voice, how to be creative with them physically on the paper. I mean, I don't know. That's me getting excited. That's me trying to live vicariously through you, like, what you possibly may, go through when you get somebody.
Well, it was fun, and there was a process that's kind of interesting to me, only because I'd never done it this way before. Exactly, was where I ended up writing every story, like every premise, and it was like 2 or 3 page premises, because we actually had to send the premise to the celebrity or the star beforehand, just to see if they were interested. And if they liked it, then they would sign on. But if we did write some that they turned us down because they were too busy, or they were, and I was really heartbroken, because it was like, that was my favorite premise, my favorite story. And so that was fun for me, because it was like immediate gratification if you write a story and you send it out to someone and they like it, and you're like, yay, Ricky Gervais liked my story. So
you're not waiting around, there must be a lot of, see, someone like you come off like a fan of still of the industry. But with that, and maybe I'm asking for myself too, is there are you so confident in stuff that you write, and you're like, I know Ricky's gonna like this, but you're waiting to be like, I don't know, like
Oh,
I really don't know. Is that like
no.
every script, or just is a little bit of
Every script, every story. I mean, you have fun in the moment and you get excited about it and you get passionate about it and you go, oh yeah, this is going to work, this is great. And then as soon as you send it out, you're like, they're going to hate it, everyone's going to hate me. I mean, it's like, it's just massive insecurities. Yeah, I think that's just, I suspect that's everybody ever, ever wrote anything or even acting. Yeah, everybody. It's like we get creative, we get excited, we do something passionately, and then as soon as it goes out there, we're like, they're all gonna hate me. It's like it's just the insecurity of creativity, I think.
we keep doing it to ourselves.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's something that isn't as well known about Axl, I think, as people know why sometimes it takes him so long to put out music. And I think there, maybe not now, but back in the day, there was an element of stage fright and
Sure.
all these things. So that now when we see him in this light, or hear him, I guess, having fun. So to go back to the article, and I want obviously to compliment you speaking, Chris, who was sorry, what was his title again from the wrong?
Oh, for Chris Bailey. Chris Bailey was our executive producer, or supervising producer, I think was his title, I think. But he was our showrunner, basically. He was our artist, and he was in charge of the directors. And
so I have like so many pages in front of me, so I'm like toggling back and forth. So to compliment his article, an interview in Rolling Stone, it seemed kind of easy. Like somebody just mentioned Axl because you're talking about all the people that are coming. It's when you're figuring out who you want to come on next, it's just kind of a writers meeting, a group meeting, and people just shouting out names. And Axl, someone just said it, and it came out, and you made it happen.
Yeah, well, that was the beauty of it. I think we had, well, every animated show is like a crew of 20, 30 people in-house, usually, or 10 to 20 people, like closely knit, working hand in hand, like directors, storyboard artists, designers, art directors, and then all sorts of production staff, like production managers, production assistants. So we're all working together all the time, and then takes a village to make these crazy shows. And we would have meetings where it was almost like, okay, who's your favorite celebrity? Who do you think we should have talk to Scooby-Doo? And we would just throw out names of our favorites. And Axl was actually a pretty easy one, because we were all like, oh yeah, Axl Rose. Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. It's like, that would be amazing. Do you think we can actually get him to do it? And we were all like, I don't know, but we were all very excited about the idea. And there was actually one of the directors, I think he's quoted somewhere in there, maybe to Mike Milo. He was like, yeah, Axl Rose, that, he's one of my favorites. And then as soon as the name was mentioned, we all kind of like got all very excited. And so, yeah. And then we reached out to see if they were even interested, and if to his people, his people. And then we wrote a premise, or I wrote the premise, and he agreed to do it. And we were all excited. So yeah, it was really cool.
Talk a little bit about that premise, what you decided, because you were spoken about from Chris, the showrunner of the episode, within the article, about you did some research on Axl, and that's kind of what you based it around. His love of, was it archaeology?
Yeah, it was archaeology.
And pies,
Yeah, and pies. Well, that was kind of it, right? It was like a combination of things. Like, I think every premise I put together, I really wanted to hopefully find something that was interesting to the celebrity, or all these people are icons. I mean, he's an icon, and so we were like you want to find something personal, hopefully, or at least interesting, to them. And so the combination of, I was reading articles, and I came across something about how he likes to read and what he likes, and he's really, really well read, and one of the things, I mean, I think could have been an archaeologist, could have been so many different things, but he went to rock and roll, which was, thank God, for all of us. But and that struck me. And then the whole sort of, then there was a whole sort of motorcycle rock and roll element, that I thought was very important, because of, I mean, I love motorcycles, but I think it's just part of that that iconic kind of vision. You see them on motorcycles. It's like there's like this. So I was thinking, oh, motorcycles, and then Route 66, yeah, and then like archaeology, okay, and then like mixing all these three together, like sort of based on all the research I did on Axl. It seemed like the right story. I don't know why. It just sort of came together based on all the different things I read about him. But
and where did there's actually, before I even get ahead like and into the episode, one of the funniest things from that article was Chris was doing, I guess, with the back and forth with the lines, and he started doing Scooby's voice. Like, were you in the room at that time? So okay, that's something you see your baby being made, I guess, which I don't know if that's the proper way of saying it, because you might could say, okay, you like the script, I'll see you later, I'll be at home. But no, you're watching him do it, and are you coaching him at all? So I guess let's start from when you first met him, and then like talking about some lines. Did he have any like, oh, I like this, or what if I said it like that? Take us through all of it.
100%. Actually, he was actually a great joy to work with. I was we never know. You never quite know when you're going to work with a celebrity or sort of a famous person, like what they're going to be like, because some famous people are hard to work with and some aren't, and you just never know. So we had different experiences with different famous people, but most of them pretty great. So we were like, okay, he's a rock and roll star, maybe we don't know what to expect. But then when we met him, so we showed up at the recording studio, and it was later at night, and we kept the number of people down. We don't like to bring in a lot of extra. Everybody wanted to be there, but we were like, we just don't want to crowd the artist, crowd the celebrity, with too many people. It's not fair to them, and of course, because everybody wanted to go see Axl, and we had to sort of limit it to basically just Chris and myself. And so you get in the booth, and they put Axl in the recording booth and with the microphone and everything. And then we just run the script. And then you're right, he did have like different ways he wanted to say things. And that was brilliant. And that's kind of why I'm there too, just to sort of go, oh yeah, sure, you could change that line, or we could change it together. Or it's like, well, maybe this would work better. And he would suggest that. And we go, oh yeah, that would be perfect. That won't mess anything up if we say it that way, And so he had a lot of good suggestions. Also, to make it sound more like him, to make it natural. That was the important thing too, because it was him playing him, even as an animated character. But sure. Yeah, so he had a lot of suggestions, and we just ran the script line by line. Chris was directing.
Anything specific that sticks out, or a specific line that made him, look at you and being like, "You're funny."
I can't remember that one. I can't remember if there was any specific things that there was any praise involved, but he had fun. I think that was one of my favorite things about it. It was like he seemed to enjoy himself, and he seemed into it, and it was like he was just like a guy, just a great normal guy. It was really fun working with him, and he was fun to talk to, and he seemed to have fun with the script. So there was one moment, I think we were talking about he was talking about lost civilizations and stuff, and he was into it. He seemed like it was like, oh yeah, I take this, it was really cool. So yeah.
Was there, like, what did he come in? Because again, I appreciate, thank you to all my listeners, because I go to reread the article when it first came out with Chris, the showrunner. Now, because I sound like an idiot before, now I'm never going to forget. So
you'll appreciate that.
Yes, it was a while since I had read it, because it was
seems like a year almost. I apologize.
And the article came out pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did.
It was unlike with Looney Tunes. There was nothing. It just came on randomly one day. A Guns N' Roses fan was watching the cartoon with his kid, and his YouTube video went viral of him just watching it, and then all of a sudden, like, it just, and it was like months later, I think I got in touch with with Rob and Kevin, your fellow comrades in cartoon writing. But this seemed like very packaged. So one of the funny things that I read in the article that sticks fresh in my mind, and thank you to all the listeners. I can't forget Phil, aka some guy from the UK, that's sent me all the screen captures, was that he wanted to come in at like 3 a.m. or 1 a.m. and it was agreed upon that it would be 9 p.m. So What did he look like? You don't have to go overboard and tell us if he was wearing like tight, skinny jeans or something like that. But did he
No,
look like a rock star, or did he just come in, in a tracksuit?
that would have been funny. No tracksuit. He came in like a regular guy. It was beautiful. It was like he had like on a plaid shirt, like just a regular kind of like the kind of plaid shirts we all wear, and blue jeans and boots and me looked like Axl Rose. It was really cool.
That's what I mean. Like, when you saw him, was it like, oh, that's Axl, or was it just like, oh, okay, cool, it's your Axl, let's get to work? Was there any sort of starstruck at all at this point in your career? Because it's Axl Rose. It's like we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think you're always a little starstruck, and I think Axl especially is like he carries like I mean, we all grew up on the music, and the music was so important to us, and the music videos were so cool. I was just watching one the other day, and like November Rain. That was like I just love that video. And then you see people over and over again like that, like Axl, and you sort of like live watching them or listening to them. And so then when you meet them for the first time in real life, you are a little starstruck. I was a little starstruck, but it's like, but they're there to work, and they're there to have fun, and I think they don't really need you to be starstruck. I don't think. It's almost like that kind of gets in the way of the creative work. So you're like, okay, calm down, this is really cool. He's a guy, he's just a regular human, so just shake his hand and be really happy about being here. And that's kind of, you get kind of it's like a slight euphoria, and you just sort of go with it, and everything is just so much fun, getting a chance to work with somebody like Axl and some of those high level figures.
When he's reading the script, what is he looking at other than the script? Is the animation at this point done? Is he looking at anything?
No, it's all we did do the designs, so they would know what they would look like as a cartoon character. We gave them the drawings of what the characters would look like, and then the script is just written out like a regular script, like a traditional script of action and dialogue and scene headings and all that. So they read that, and they know what the dialogue is, and then we don't even do the animation until, animation is this really long process. It takes like 8 or 9 months to make a show, and
Wow.
yeah, it's like 3 times as long as making a TV show, I think. And then live action, and so they read the script, and pretty much recording the dialogue is kind of one of the first steps. So once they see the figure and they sign off on it, oh yeah, I like this drawing of me. It'll look like that when it's animated. And then they read the script and they go, okay, everything's okay in the script. Or they give us notes. I don't think gave us any notes on the script. But then from the recording and the script, the storyboard artists and each episodic director will take that, and they'll draw out the storyboard panel by panel, frame by frame of what's going to happen. And then that gets turned into an animatic, so we can kind of see sort of a moving, living storyboard in black and white, usually just hand drawn, just to sort of get a sense of the timing and how it's going to work. And so we make that into like the finished piece of the storyboard. It's animated and animatic. And then we send that usually to an animation studio, and they're the ones who turn it into that color that you've got behind you, that image. And that's the and then it comes back, and we do even more work to it in post-production. But so it takes a while.
So how long did this episode take?
About probably 8 months from start to finish.
Okay. Yeah, wow, that's bananas. So then what do you think about South Park when they do it? They so timely, like
they're genius. Well, they're geniuses but they use a certain type of animation too that they can do pretty quickly, and I think they work really hard. And everyone works really hard, but I suspect they use a certain kind of animation that they can do on a quick basis, kind of in-house, and sort of like, so they can be topical. And that's why it's very limited, as you see the kind of cutout figures and the kind of animation they do. It is limited because that's their style, and it's style that, like you said, so they can be topical and sort of jump on things right away.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that documentary. Was it 6 days to air?
Yeah.
And just going to kind of ask you about before with someone with your accolades and getting nervous. And I still remember to this day, he makes a South Park episode, he wins Emmys. He's like, I put it out. I think I sent it to Comedy Central. I think it's shit. I'm just gonna eat McDonald's just to, my sorrows and eat my sorrows away. And he's a genius. So I feel
Yeah,
better about myself. So
exactly.
and you made me feel better earlier because
Oh,
again,
good.
I'm talking to the guy who wrote on some of my favorite cartoons ever, like ever. So how long did it take for Axl to go through his lines? Because it's funny, because this podcast is kind of like a passion project that I've been able to tie into my career. But for my career, I work on different radio shows where I do work with different talent that have to record, commercials or live reads. And I'm telling you, some people can read, some people can't. And
Right.
you wouldn't be able to tell. We make them sound smarter on the air sometimes than they actually are.
Oh,
I'm not saying that that's Axl, but I'm just curious. Did he go through it? Was he a one take Charlie, as they say?
He was, yeah, no, I mean, he did get it. I mean, that's, I think also maybe the benefit of playing yourself is you don't have to worry that much. You can just kind of relax and be into it and just do it, and then, we would always get multiple takes because you want multiple takes. Plus you get to play with it too. You get a good safety. You get it. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. Now, maybe get really excited here or get really like, oh, scared here, or like have a reaction. And when you get to this part of the line, and then play with it more that way. So, because so much of animation relies on the voice of the characters, because we can't animate the face, right? What's the face got like so many muscles in it? So when you do live action, you see all the emotional reactions in someone's face. But when you do animation, we're very limited in terms of what we can show visually in terms of emotion. So much of the nuances of the acting have to come from the voice, come from the actor who's doing the voiceover. Yeah. And yeah, he did great. Because he was doing it by himself, a lot of times we'll do it as a radio play, which is great because we get, like, if you get 5 or 6 actors in a booth and you record the whole script, a lot of fun stuff happens, and you sometimes record it and it works really well, and or at least it's just fun to be there and it keeps the energy up. So, but we did it more the style that they do a lot of the movies, where it's one actor, one microphone, do all the lines. So we had Axl do all of his lines, and then we would read in with him a little bit, just sort of preface it a little bit. And that's when Chris Bailey would do the voice of Scooby, oh, Axl, and then it's Axl Rose. And then Axl would respond, and we'd record it. So it
brilliant.
was fun.
And but speaking of the animation, before I forget to ask, because I know I can't keep you here forever. If you need to sneeze, that's okay.
I was going to sneeze. That's just, all right, you went away. All right, okay.
I can't get COVID from you. Well,
no, yeah, right. Woo! COVID safe Zoom.
Why is he blonde? He was blonde also in Looney Tunes. Is that something? Because isn't he like famously a redhead, or am I just a super GNR nerd? I mean, I know.
Well, both, I think, right? You are both. Right.
You're correct. I can't argue. I won't. Why is he blonde? Why is he blonde? He's not a redhead. I answer that question.
I think, well, we did it. Well, that's actually, it makes me think of the Mark Hamill story. But there's like you kind of talk to the talent, the celebrity, and they kind of let you know what they want to do. But also, I think too, we want people to connect with it visually in what they're used to. It's like people think of Axl Rose, they think of what they've seen of Axl Rose for the past 20 years or whatever it's been, and on those public, on the stage, he's got the blonde hair, and that's what sticks in your head. So I kind of think we were always hoping to make sure that the visuals sort of matched kind of what people are expecting, or so they'll connect to it more quickly or more readily. And okay. But you're right. I think, come to think of it,
I mean, maybe it's like
it was a reddish. He does have kind of like when I met him, when he came to record, it wasn't the blonde that we're used to watching in the music videos. It's on stage. It was kind of a reddish strawberry blonde kind of.
Okay. All right. So, my nerddom it's
I
true. It
think
is
it
kind of
seems
Reddit.
correct. Yeah, I think
It's
your nerddom is validated.
because it's just interesting because that's what how Looney Tunes also made that same creative decision. And again, knowing the scuttlebutt of my fellow GNR nerds, it's like, why is he blonde? I mean, it didn't take away from the enjoyment. It was just uh, something that stood out. I don't know.
Yeah,
It
I
just
think yeah, but I think it's just so because you trying to reach a broader audience in terms of like so people make that sort of visual recognition, you know. Yeah.
um. Let me ask. It was addressed a little bit from Chris Bailey from Rolling Stone, the showrunner, again proving
Hmm.
that I can retain some facts as we talked to Michael Ryan. um, how come? I know it was a dream to obviously have him do a song, which he did on Looney Tunes, "Rock the Rock," which was just. It's funny because we haven't heard from Axl Rose prior to this year releasing a couple of newish songs.
Right.
Uh, that we hadn't heard from him for years, and then all of a sudden he's doing a song for Looney Tunes. How far did any discussions go to do a song on Scooby? Was that something that was ever really on the table to have happen?
Sure. I mean, I think we did discuss it. Obviously, I mean, he's Axl Rose. I mean, it's all about music, right? So, um, I think it was funny. It was almost like, in a weird way, it was like, what's the best way? Will it fit the story? And does he want to do it? And is it something that we want to force him to do or ask him to do? Or, it's like, and then I think at the end of the day, it just felt more comfortable and more fun to sort of just be Axl Rose, a guy, that's on the motorcycle and hanging out with Scooby and Shaggy on this kind of like a pie quest in a sense, like that they were on this kind of journey to like they have this sort of friendship. I always loved it when the celebrity had a relationship with like some of our characters. It was always fun, and so for him to have a sort of relationship with these guys made it really fun for us. And it just didn't seem like necessary for that to happen, for it to be about Axl, and I think that's the way at the end our final decision I think was based on that yeah,
That makes
just to
sense.
let it be, yeah, just let it be Axl, and not worry about it, but
I kind of like that because sometimes when like a musical guest, nor a typical musical guest will host SNL, but won't be the musical guest. Like you'll see
right.
them as a different light. I guess it's just again coming from the GNR nerddom that we're so desperate for anything that will take new Scooby-Doo, we'll take new Looney Tunes music. Hey, if Axl wants to do a cow and chicken, a theme song, that would be. I would lose my.
Okay, no,
I
all
would.
right,
I would
now you got me. We has to do that. He's got, all right,
welcome to the
we'll have to do that.
jungle. We got cow and chickens. I think.
I want that so badly now that you mentioned it. Oh man, that would be
Oh,
perfect.
oh, brilliant! Well, is there any chance? I mean, again, this is just hopes, and I love the cartoon. Again, as somebody who still watches cartoons, I do. I still watch the new Scooby Doo. I still watch new Looney when I can.
Sure.
It's that's my
It's really not just for kids anymore,
what's been great, and I think I guess what you guys did, you insert like references that my age group knows. Like, maybe I'll have a kid in like a year or two, but didn't you have like Urkel on?
Yeah, we had Urkel. That was a fun one. We did a couple of Mark Hamill's. I mean, although I guess Mark Hamill's
Was
super
that
over.
the story before we lose it? Was that the story you were referring to
Well,
earlier?
I was gonna say the same thing about the hair color for Axl, that with Mark Hamill, we gave him the beard because he
Yeah,
often wears a beard
yeah, he
in real
does.
life. And he was really happy about it because he was like, nobody, whenever I do, if they're doing me, uh, some version of me as a cartoon or whatever, they always do like the young Luke Skywalker, 1977 version or whatever, and he says, it was really exciting that you guys wanted to do the beard, me and the beard. And we were like, yeah, we want to do you as so it made me think of the hair color. It was sort of the same thing. It was like to sort of not necessarily go backwards in time, but also to sort of make a connection between the two time frames, if that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
No, it does. It
Yeah.
absolutely does. Any chance of a since they're friends, Scooby, Shaggy, and Axel reunion? Would they hang out again?
I would love that. I mean, I think it would be a lot of fun. And I don't know. I never say never, but I don't
I'll take it.
see anything in the moment. But yeah,
I'll take it.
that would be a good. That would be actually. Now that you mention it, it's got my brain like churning, because that would be a fun. We do like a special. Sometimes they do movie specials with Scooby, and that would be a really funny movie special to bring Axl along.
They just got off tour. Now is the time to strike. Right. I mean, I know fans are like, no, work on new music. Nah, I could do with Axl.
They're gonna say, don't do a cartoon, make a new album. Yeah, right.
What do you have going on, if I may ask? Anything? Where can we see the Michael Ryan name? Where can we check out your work?
I just finished, just now finishing episodes. I'm just finishing a show on Apple TV Plus. It's an animated show called Wolf Boy and the Everything Factory. I was a showrunner and executive producer on it, and a writer, and it's just beautiful. I think it's one of my favorite things I've done in a long time, and I think it's very sweet, but it's just kind of magical. It's really pretty, and I love the art. So
the title itself has me intrigued. Honestly.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. It's worth checking out if you get a chance. But I feel guilty saying that because it's like pressuring you. Go watch that show. But
all I have to say is,
really cute.
If I had Apple TV, I would watch it. So the pressure is taken off.
Okay.
I just,
right, good.
I'll have to find out. It sounds good. I do want to watch it. Man, that's what stinks. Like I was able to watch, I think, this episode when I was living on Long Island, or in Long Island, however my accent lets me say it. I had like the Boomerang channel, and then I moved to Queens, and I don't have it. So it's like one of those that, I can't win. So a lot of times I just wait for things to hit Netflix or Hulu or something like that.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that you can watch the Axl episode on HBO Max right now, because it's October and they're doing a special October Scare Fest kind of thing for Halloween, and they're putting up a lot of Scoobies, and they put up almost all 52 of our Scooby-Doo Guess Who episodes on there. So Axl's up there.
That's good to know.
HBO
awesome.
Max. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a good way to end it. Very cool. Michael Ryan, thank you so much. I know we've been in contact for a few months, and I can tell while you're a very busy guy, wow. I mean, you just have, people think I'm being sarcastic when people like ask me like, hey, how are you? And I'll be like, living the dream. And some days I might not be feeling it. You are living the dream. Just like
I am. Yeah, don't jinx it, but yeah.
Well, very cool. Thank you. I was gonna say thank you for Cow and Chicken, Johnny Bravo, Dexter, Powerpuff Girls, Ninja Turtles. My God, and this episode of with Axl, you wrote a great script, entertained so many people, and it continues to do great work that you do. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much. I do want to shout out that I wrote the premise and wrote the script with a really great writer named Caroline Farah, and she actually wrote the script, and because she's a huge Axl fan, and I need to shout out to her because she was like because when she's a writer I work with a lot. When she heard we were doing Axl, she's like, I need that script. I need to write for Axl. So she wrote the script, but we were really happy, and she did a great job. So Caroline Farah, she rocked it. So, and she was a huge Axl fan. So
hey,
it had to happen.
If she wants to come on the podcast, talk about Axl and cartoons, I'm down.
All right. I'll let her know. I'll send her an email and see what's what.
Cool. Thank you, Michael.
No worries.
So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. Sorry, I got so excited. Whenever you hear me talk about a subject that comes up, like cartoons I like in this episode, or hockey, or, I go off, as I often do, I get sidetracked. And so I'm sure many of you, and I know many of you are also cartoon fans and identify with whether it's Axl / Steven Adler, who, he loves Family Guy. He's often professed his love for Family Guy and American Dad. It kind of helps you get closer, I think, to the band and the music that we love. So that's part of it. I don't know. I get a kick out of it, thinking about Axl doing this as already a cartoon fan, where there are fans that you should be working on a new record, not doing. I don't know what he's doing with his time, man. I really don't. I'm just glad we're not relying solely on new music from cartoons from Guns N' Roses. Now that the band is off the road officially until next year, right? What are they going to be doing? Maybe Axl will pop up in another cartoon. I hope so. I also hope for a third installment. We got Absurd. We got Hard School. What are we number 3? I have no information. As I talk to many of you through DM, I can only guess. I think a lot of the focus right now is going to be on Slash with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. I can't foresee Guns N' Roses putting out anything new to detract from that at all. So I think once that record comes out, maybe they tour. So I think this will be it for a while. I could, as we can always be surprised by this man and this band, but I really think that's it for a while. But that doesn't mean this podcast is going to stop. Of course not. It's I can't believe we've done. Sometimes I feel like it's the nonstop podcast, like it's the nonstop Guns N' Roses tour, even when there's no news. So that's where you come in and you help me, find guests or we find out the news. We break it down what we do know. So in time, we are going to do a wrap up, a tour wrap up with some of you. I want to have on kind of like a panel talk about the tour that was. Maybe we'll have on some of you that I haven't had, where I haven't covered those specific shows yet. So to kind of talk about shows that we haven't done review episodes about. And of course, before I forget, just sorry for the last episode. I did make a tweet about it and a post, and it was in response to only one person, which I never do this. I really don't ban people. You can have different opinions. You could say really whatever you want. Like you on my, if you want to curse on my social media, it's, you're only making yourself look bad, I guess, if you just don't really behave yourself. But if you're rude, just like rude or obnoxious to me or somebody else, I have no time for that. So with the Mark episode, which did get great reviews despite some of the audio issues, and just like how today with the episode with Mike Ryan, I want some visual to go with the podcast. And for me, a lot of it had to do with just the background, having Scooby-Doo as a background, different stills from the episode with Axl, and to add to this podcast, the YouTube portion of it, because there's a lot of people that find us through YouTube. Not every podcast platform can be heard everywhere. It's just, so I don't want to be limited to certainly one platform. I want to be heard, and I got to compete. YouTube is just, I'm late to the game, if anything. So I really just became enchanted with the idea of talking to Mark Cantor from the booth, the Guns N' Roses booth at Cantor's Deli. And I was able to tell right away that he was skipping a little bit, cutting out a little bit, but it just didn't seem too bad. Usually I could have said, I just didn't want to reschedule it. It's hard. That's something else that's hard. And especially when I get a few fans together to do an episode. I have a full-time job. I have another part-time job. I'm writing that book, with Doug that's taking up a lot of my time. I have a fiance. I have to show that I actually, I'm involved in her life. I mean, we do stuff. So, I mean, it's hard for me to, if this was my priority, I could have taken time, really edited it down to a fine-tooth comb, or made the decision to do it somewhere else, reschedule it. But I thought, you know what, I can clean it up pretty well on the audio side, which I think I did. And then the video side, whatever awkward pauses there are because of Mark's buffering or we lost connection, hopefully I entertained you with my awkwardness. I just hope at the end of the day, I can go on the fly well enough to make it not seem as bad. So that was kind of my reasoning, but still, fun times with Mark. That went way longer than I wanted to, but the fact that, he ended with a never before told Axl story about losing his keys. So it's not like anything controversial. I always love when guests tell me I've never told this story before. Isn't that what you want? To make them comfortable to tell you something they've never said before. And again, it's not like it's anything inappropriate. It's, these are fun stories that I get out of people. And, we'll see if we get another Scooby episode on. It's just very cool to be a fly on that wall, to see Axl record these cartoons and to laugh and to do it in sometimes in that radio setting, with a few people, like a table read, I guess, if you're familiar with that phrase. Sometimes, you'll see clips of that, other like sitcoms, people going, and they'll help people read. Because not everyone could do it on their own when it's just them in a booth. And I'll say that, like what I'm doing right now. It's very hard. It took me a long time to be able to host a podcast, really. It was unnerving, those first few episodes without Ian, believe it or not. I've never been the guy. I mean, I've been parts of big shows. I've had my own, even when I'm the guy on those FM classic rock stations, you're not the guy. The guy is the radio stations. That's how I look at it. The star is the music. I'm just the idiot that talks for 30 seconds between songs, a minute, to tell you about the local barbecue happening that weekend. But it was never just being by yourself, recording, line after line after line. So actually, when I started doing those classic rock things pre-recorded, I couldn't do it. Going from live to pre-recorded, I was just so critical. I'm like, this sucks. I'm over pronunciating. I'm listening back to myself. And this was around the time Chinese Democracy was not even out yet. And I'm thinking to myself, I swear to you, this is how GNR nerdy I am to keep that phrase going. Before Chinese Democracy came out, is when I was working in Cape Cod, and I'm trying to do what voice tracking, you may hear, just recorded breaks that you'll put in between songs. If, for whatever reason, I forget, maybe there were overnight things I had to do, and I forget the reason why I was voice tracking some stuff at the time, but I just couldn't do it. I just kept what I perceived as messing up. And I'm like, I can't Chinese Democracy this. I can't make everything perfect because it's taking me hours upon hours to voice track, maybe 20 lines. I know I'm getting frustrated, angry. I just got to do it as well as I can. And if it's not perfect, move on. That's what it is in the moment. That's rock and roll. So that's kind of how I approach this podcast at times, even though it is pre-recorded. Sometimes you just got to do it. And if there are some blemishes, that's okay. Because, I don't know, this isn't 2020. This is the nightly news. This is a Guns N' Roses themed podcast where we look at life through Guns N' Rose colored glasses. I say all these phrases. That's Guns N' Roses bar mitzvah. It's Guns N' Roses themed bar mitzvah party of a broadcast. So if it's not perfect, I think that's okay. I had to let go of my Chinese Democracy Axl side of me because I would never get anywhere in life. Axl has the luxury to wait. He's already created his legacy. I'm still trying to create mine. That sounded a little too like a movie trailer. He created his own legacy. I'm trying to create mine. I'm just trying to build myself. So anyway, you know what I mean? I don't have the time to the BS. I'll make things better, and I'm a professional. So again, on the audio side, where my expertise are at, I will always take the time to make it sound as good as possible. But if there's video stuff, I can only do so much. And that also leads me to say, as we wrap up this episode, if you want to continue to help, because I can't do this episode without you, and you in this episode, I will include, again, thank you to Kevin Fleming and Rob Janis, the awesome writers from the Looney Tunes episode, and they helped me book this. So without befriending people like that, befriending people like you who have gotten me guests in the past, who helped me ask great questions, well, I have to bring it up. Shout out to the listener who had me ask about Axl and the archaeology. Forgive me, I don't have your Twitter thing up, but without your great questions, my show wouldn't be anything. It would be nothing. I wouldn't get to interview. I would have left after when Ian left, but it's because of you that have helped me get through any sort of anxiety, helped me build this show. But it could be better. You know what I mean? I could take the time to edit video if we get bigger, and that's only again with your help. So not just with booking guests, follow on social media. New Twitter numbers are going up. Still not where we used to be. So at the AFD podcast, please follow, especially since Facebook and Instagram are not reliable anymore. Being shut down for half the day the other day. But anyway, you can still follow on Facebook, facebook.com/the AFD show. Instagram, Appetite for Distortion. That's the best way to keep the conversation going between the podcasts and to suggest guests and to be a part of this broadcast is to follow on social media and to keep up to date with what I'm trying to do, what we are doing with Doug Goldstein's book. I'll say I was given a bunch of tasks and things I need to do from somebody in the business that, what will make this book sellable. And it was kind of overwhelming. And I'm like, I need to do this. I'm not going to not do this. And I told Doug that pretty much. I'm like, I just want to let you know, because we're honest with each other, of course. We're writing a book together. And he goes, picture, how would you eat an elephant? I'm like, eat an elephant? He's like, let's just say you had an eat an elephant. Okay. I would just start somewhere. And he's like, yep, that's how you do it. Just start somewhere and eventually you'll get through the whole thing. So I'm going to continue to eat that elephant, i.e. Doug Goldstein's book. We'll see how I'll keep you up to date. And there is some downside bringing you on the early stages, but it's fun letting you know all the behind the scenes. And when it comes out, it's going to be very not just rewarding for me, but for you to be a part of this process, I think, because it's never been done like this before. I don't think, not at a GNR level, a big band level, where they take you along for the writing process. Oh, and I will say this, which also involves you. If you want a question answered by Doug Goldstein in the book, you can email us at theafdshow@gmail.com. We have already recorded some of your questions to be transcribed by me and to be placed appropriately by me in the book. So it will happen. So I don't know if we'll call the chapter Fans and Roses or something. That's something Doug threw out there. But you will be spoken about, you, the fan, the Guns N' Roses fan. And some of you specifically will be named if we get your question in the book. And many of you will. When has that ever happened? I don't know. So come along on this whole crazy trip, this podcast night train, this book excursion, all of it. And what is to come, I guess. The possibilities are endless. It really is. That's what this show and you, the AFD show listener, the Bad Apple, have shown me. The possibilities are endless. And I will announce, I've already announced it on Twitter, this big guest that's coming up. And that's been something that's been great about these recent guests that we've had. They've all taken months to make happen. Really. Mark was never, once I got him once, it wasn't hard, but I contacted him earlier in the summer and now it worked out. But Andrew Stockdale, I've been following up since February. No fault to him and the busy people. Finally happened. Michael, I've been, as you heard us talking about, months. So this person, I never got response from until now. It was so weird. I'm like, who am I going to, I don't know who to interview. Like, who am I going to email next? This is what I do sometimes when I don't get great suggestions from you. And all of a sudden, and this happens when you get to interview people and you get on labels, radars, or record companies' radars, you start to get those email blasts about who's putting out what record and what promotion. And sometimes, a lot of times it's not bands that are relevant to you, but you want to be on these email lists because it's like, hey, do you want to interview Josh Freese? Why, yes, I do. So Josh Freese may be the next episode. We'll see. But Josh Freese confirmed, although nothing is ever confirmed other than Axl's love of Taco Bell, which is still a great, great line. We'll see. But I have it in an email form. It's confirmed. We'll see when it actually gets recorded. It should be next week as I'm putting it out. Other than that, what else will you see? When will the next episode be coming out? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.